But I want to say one thing to the American people.
I can't roam early.
I want you to listen to me.
Mr. Bucket. Stop it. Blow 'em up. Put your hand inside. Whoa. Sneak into the kitchen without waking Daddy.
I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations.
Welcome to our podcast here, the survivors of Y2K, myself, Gabe Kroger.
Patrick Sada.
I am Justin Stapleton.
Yes, and we're going to recount all the lost times before the Great Cataclysm in the year 2000 AD. Would anyone like to start with a topic?
Well, actually, I have a really good story about that while we're getting into it, because I was thinking when I was playing music, I used to play in this guy's basement, and like just to practice and, get together. So his parents used to work for, I believe, like Cintas or something like that. And it was something with the energy companies. And what happened was that I guess they were freaking out so much about Y2K that they had this huge water cooler. I'm not kidding. This thing is the size of one of those giant propane tanks in the back of a house, is in the basement. And they have a bunch of guns locked up because all these companies were freaking out all about the Y2K as if it was going to happen. Nothing happened.
It did happen, the Cataclysm.
We didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah, we didn't.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, that it just kind of phased me right then, I guess.
Yeah, the post-traumatic...
Well, they were smart. They had it all ready.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
My mom was a skeptic. She told me not to worry.
Yeah. Now we're all eating garbage outside,
Oh, no, we're not, because it's 2017.
We stocked up on Twinkies.
Yeah.
Before the year 2000, because that's the only thing that I knew would last an apocalypse.
Man.
So we have an overabundance of Twinkies available to us.
So, I was telling you, at work the other day, that at our job, Justin, we still have these presses, these automatic presses that have Y2K certified stickers on them.
Oh yeah,
They're
that's right.
certified, huh?
Yeah.
What was the
certified.
certification process?
Well, what someone was telling me was
17 more years ago.
some third party auditor would come in, just look at all the machines and whatever, be like, oh yeah, this isn't gonna blow up on year 2000.
Well, he was right. Still there today at your job.
Well, those are, yeah, but the ones that don't have the sticker, there's big craters.
But the stickers are right because it happened.
The only thing that remains in this world, all the electronics that remain have that sticker of certification.
every
Y2K certified.
Yeah.
Yeah,
including this iPhone.
Look
that
under
I'm
your
using right now.
N64.
Just look at your phone right now. It's not there. It probably shouldn't be there.
Well, in case you didn't know, and you forget, just like I did about the Y2K, that's what it's like now. But let's get back into what it was like before the Cataclysm.
We don't want to talk about what it's like now. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The only reason we're talking
what it's
right
like now.
It's a sensitive
because you're
subject.
listening to it now.
We want to talk about times before that.
Yeah, all the lost records, all your N64 days, your Wayne's World days, your
Separate the fact.
Kevin
from fiction.
Costner days.
Kevin Costner's prime.
Robin Williams days. The glory days.
Yeah.
your Tommy
The Billy
Boys.
Crystal days,
Billy Crystal. Tell me your best Billy Crystal story, Pat.
Billy Crystal?
Nobody has a Billy Crystal.
Well, I'm sure you guys have seen City Slickers, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be my one go-to Billy Crystal title.
Besides, Monsters, Inc., but obviously...
He was
that
in
didn't
that?
happen.
Was he
was Mike Wazowski, I think that's his name.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, one-eyed guy. I don't know if he winks or blinks
I think when it's all of your eyes, it's blinking.
Probably has to do that, that.
And then it's just like, you got something in your eye. Anyway.
Yeah.
Monsters,
big ass eye.
Monsters Inc. I think was post Cataclysm.
Oh yeah.
It was a good documentary though.
Yeah, very good documentary. We survive off screams now. But City Slickers, man. just a couple of
Just
three
looking for Curly's gold.
Yeah, they're looking for Curly's gold. You know, they're a bunch of, they're from the city and they wanna get this cattle past the
Yeah,
field.
I don't remember the plot of the first one. I like
I
when I
didn't
was a
get a
kid-
chance to see it.
Oh,
And there's
it's-
no more copies of it available
no more
anywhere.
Well, you know who else was in it,
Y2K.
which is what we'll move on to our next subject. Is that Daniel Stern was one of the actual city slickers. So he was in Home Alone, and we all know how big of a part of our childhood Home Alone was.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many are there now? Like, they're 4?
Well, if you
I
ask
think
me,
there's
there's only
5.
5?
two
Yeah.
pre-Cataclysm and I think like 3 post.
Yeah, like after Y2K,
Yeah.
Home Alone. You know, Home
But,
Alone after Y2K is what I think
uh,
what they were titled.
Fun fact: we're actually recording on our Talkboy. Just popped an old tape right in there, wound it up with my pencil, and that's how we're recording this podcast.
We have
Yeah.
limited recording space.
Yeah, that's actually more of a 2017 problem, like because we're broke, but
But yeah, Home Alone. I mean, that was something else, wasn't it? You know, a lot of
It was
people like
more
to
than
say
something else.
yeah, who didn't want to set up a bunch of traps for a bunch of burglars that come into your
It made
place on
kids
Christmas?
want their house to get broken into.
I really
that's a good point. That
What
made
other
it-
movie has done that?
burglar home invasion's fun? You
Right.
know, it's the new trend. It was the trend back in the 90s. You know,
I feel recently it's a very scary and dark subject matter. But
I-
back in the 90s.
yeah,
good
back in the
people
90s,
don't
good
belong.
fun, good fun.
Yeah,
And
well,
they
it
had
was
good
great.
fun. The burglars had fun. We
lost
all
the-
laughed.
We lost Kevin McAllister's blueprints on how to take care of burglars, and after that,
We were guessing.
Yeah.
And then Y2K came.
Yeah,
And
We
then-
weren't prepared for that home invasion.
Then we're all Home Alone.
it took Kevin McAllister from us.
God.
And now Macaulay Culkin remains.
But
the
he's
weird-
not the same though.
He is not the same. Have you seen him?
I have. They had like a Home Alone like YouTube like reboot thing.
It was a murder.
It was really weird.
That's his life now.
yeah.
He also
It was
likes
like-
pizza a lot, from what I heard.
You know what
Yeah.
he didn't like was the macaroni and cheese in the first fucking movie. So here's the thing. When I was a kid, I was so upset because like right before the burglars come, he sets up everything and he like sets out like a bowl of mac and cheese that he cooks in the microwave.
He
which
doesn't eat it.
He does not eat a bite.
What a waste of macaroni
like-
and cheese.
The
That
alarm
probably cost
doesn't
someone
the
94
bell-
cents.
Yeah, like he's like about to. I think he's about to like take like a spoonful, and like the bell rings, and he's like,
It's a grandfather
I guess,
clock.
It's like
It's like-
midnight because like I guess
It's
the
a certain time, and he's like, here
he-
they come.
yeah he knew the robbers were coming at like a time.
Yeah,
Well,
he
here's
was
the weird
ready.
thing. They cut the phone lines. The phone lines were down. They couldn't call his parents, but he could order a pizza.
Wait,
You guys
when
remember that?
Did they cut his phone lines like before like the big attack?
I don't remember if it was because of snow or what. It was so long ago. The 90s.
Yeah, why didn't he just like call the
I
police?
wish there was
He
some way
called,
we could
he ordered
verify.
some pizza.
Yeah, if there was only some way to figure this out.
He calls and orders pizza because the guy, he's the whole Tommy gun spiel.
Yeah.
The
yeah,
driver
we had
walks
to
up
put
to
that
the
in there.
door and he hears this guy thinking he's somebody with a Tommy gun about to shoot him, so he orders a pizza. The phone hadn't been cut yet, but I think like there's a telephone pole or something that falls on it later on that like cuts off communication.
You filthy animals.
Filthy
Just had to throw that in there. But what's in
Keep
the...
the change.
Yep.
Yep.
I
You know, they
None
were
of us
about to
can
say
say the
it,
whole
like,
thing.
we had to look
It
at
chokes
each
us
other
up,
for a
yeah.
second to figure
It's,
that
it's
out.
unfortunate. This is the best record we have.
Yeah,
It's
this
our
is
memory,
the way we're saying it is exactly how it happened.
our recollection.
Was Home Alone 3 in where they had the new kid in the
Yeah,
90s?
it was a new
Different kid.
kid. I did not watch that, but I did watch a Nostalgia Critic episode on that.
Did you watch it?
And
I
it
did
looked
watch it.
very
Do you
Yes.
remember where they had the rat in the dude's crotch? And the,
No, I don't remember that at all.
Well, any one of our listeners, if you watch that, you'll see a rat in a dude's crotch. But
Is it a trap? Like the kid organizes
Yeah,
it
it's
so
the
that
trap.
happens?
I-
Or what
I wish I
If everyone
remembered.
had bad traps, you just cut holes in bands and put rats in there.
He has
You know-
like mice warfare now. This kid's up his game.
he had the trampoline over the pool, so when they jumped into like the fake trampoline, it was really jumping into the pool, and there was like freezing temperatures outside, and the one guy sat on the bench or that chair, and he had to he got grilled. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that part.
That was something else.
For some reason, I blocked out the mouse
I swear it
or
happened.
the rat.
I'm still thinking about that fucking mac and cheese. So like,
Maybe you
No.
should
So-
have made some mac and cheese before we recorded this.
Oh man.
well,
Next time, because
But, like,
that was a big part of my childhood right there.
here's
I
the
ate
thing.
so much mac and cheese.
Yeah.
It bugged
Probably
me
because of
so
that
much
movie.
that he didn't eat it, but that also bugged me because like I think before that it was filmed, or right after that was Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and he has like that Rube Goldberg machine that like makes his breakfast in the morning, and he takes like just like a little nibble of toast and then like wipes his mouth. I think that might have been just a thing we did back then.
What's really weird about
just like not eat.
I'm so glad you brought up Pee-wee's Adventure because that makes me think of Ernest. Remember the Ernest movies?
Dude, I showed. Oh, well, go ahead. Go
Well,
ahead. You
I remember when I was
obviously
a
have.
kid. I've only seen one. That dude freaked me out. Like
Why did he freak
nightmare
you out?
fuel is what I thought.
Let me know why.
Well, after school, I would go to these after-school programs until my parents got off work to pick us up. You know, it's just typical stuff if your parents worked until 5 or 6. So I would stay there, and they would watch these movies. And one of them was Ernest's Halloween episode. I don't know.
Scared Stupid. Yeah, that's what.
Whatever it was, that troll with its eyes coming up that
It's all snotty and
yeah,
shit. Yeah.
nightmares for years.
Dude.
And that's no joke.
I
Like,
watched.
I haven't seen it.
Scared-
I'm sorry.
scared
It's
the
another
shit
movie
out of
I
me.
did not get a chance to see. I love
Okay.
hearing about it though.
But
it was something else. Why,
so-
explain what happened.
well, okay, so Ernest Scared Stupid stars Ernest P. Worrell, and he is a I believe he's a garbage man, and it starts off with him like almost getting crushed by his own garbage compactor. Classic Ernest.
Classic.
But like there's like this haunted tree or something, or like there's like a tree in the middle of the woods that has like a troll buried underneath it, and it's like super gnarly, and like Ernest and a bunch of kids, this was the 90s, like there weren't any pedophiles yet, so like Ernest he was an adult who could hang out with kids and no one questioned it, and they built like a tree house.
Yeah,
in that like
weird time, the 90s.
weird strange
for parents
time.
and kids. And,
Yeah, after the cataclysm, just pedophiles that, as far as the eye can see.
yeah, so many sexual offenders.
So many. Just
As far
look
as
up,
the eye can see.
You can look that up online. How many sex offenders are around you, and then you can like go to their house and be like, oh, was this post cataclysm? Anyway. So they built this tree house on top of this gnarly old troll tree, and of course, like something about that makes the troll wake up, and he starts terrorizing the city. He makes like little trolls that I think grow off the tree, but the most terrifying thing is that when he would catch kids and he would turn them into like wooden like statues, and it was like
Nightmare fuel, dude.
Yeah, well, as a kid, I was like terrified.
That is terrifying because you're a kid.
the-
You're like that could happen to me.
The worst fucking part is he takes Rimshot, his Jack Russell Terrier dog, I think it was, like Ernest's dog, and turns him into like a little wooden statue. I bawled my damn eyes out. Like that.
The dog, though?
Yeah, the dog. Like, and I tried to.
They hurt dogs in the 90s?
Did they bring him back to
They
dog
had,
form?
they had one. His name was Wishbone. He played a lot of roles.
What about
my
Airbud?
Airbud.
Whatever happened to Airbud?
He spawned like 1,000 sequels. He
He's
came
got
out on
Air
top
Buddies
of the
now.
Like he's
cataclysm.
literally spawned.
I think
1,000
really, yeah,
Air
like
Bud
Air
sequels?
Buddies, like what he was talking about. There's like a puppy
Yeah.
one.
Really?
Airbud was, scoring more than just the baskets, you know.
My, oh gosh.
Ooh. I follow. I
But
follow
his
you.
kids went to space?
They
What?
did get a space. Okay, so
That's a
tell me
little
these
bit.
dogs
That's
are
after the
from
we
90s.
actually watched that movie with my ex, like
Space Buddies?
like 2 years ago on
my
Netflix.
Was it absolutely not worth your time, or was it worth some amount of your time?
I think she enjoyed it because there were puppies, but as far as like plot and cinematography, it was kind of lacking.
Oh, man.
Did this come out? When did this come out?
It was,
After the 90s.
it was at least like
It sounds
12
like
or
some-
13 years post cataclysm.
Some crazy post-cataclysm concoction. Like I can't
Only
imagine
the
these dogs
apocalypse could
go in
make.
the
would have
space.
never made that movie in
Yeah.
the 90s.
But let's continue on the Airbud because I remember that first movie and that clown who was in he was in a movie. He was the booker for booking agent in Jurassic Park 3. He was the clown that kidnapped or I don't know if he kidnapped or he just had the dog in the cage in the back of his truck bed, and he was the clown, the traveling clown. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was the first
That
Airbud.
had to have been post cataclysm. That sounds like dog pedophilia.
No, that's what the dude did. He had he made
I'm sorry.
the dog.
Maybe I was too young to just
This is the first
realize.
Airbud. It was
Yeah.
the first Airbud. He was playing basketball, and
Because there were no rules that he could.
but
not
he
play
got away
basketball.
from. So he got yelled at. He got smacked for doing something that dogs do. Whatever. He's Airbud. I mean, I don't know what he could have done wrong. Maybe shot a basket or something. But
Missed a free throw.
he gets and animal abuse happens. All right, 90s. This stuff doesn't bother people then. So he puts them in the back of the crate and in the back of their truck, and they hit a bump, and then the crate falls out while he's in the middle of the highway, and it just bounces down the highway there, and then some kid picks it up. It was just
Wait, is that how the movie opens?
That's how the movie opens.
Man, I don't remember any of that.
Well, I never seen
Well,
it. So
I
don't
saw
remember.
it, but I don't remember that.
I gotta say, it wouldn't fly in 2017. I tell you that, but that's how it started. And then the guy was a star. I tell you, a star.
So speaking of things that don't fly in 2017, I was watching with my ex the other day, different ex. There's gonna be a lot of those. Anyway, so
Exes, huh?
yeah.
Just keep saying X. And
Yeah,
we'll
just
X.
X with Professor Xavier.
Professor X.
Yeah, him and I were watching YouTube, and we were watching clips of Married with Children.
All right.
That show you could not make today. It was hilarious.
It was always over the line.
It was very over the line.
Like
It was
always.
super chauvinistic, and it was cracking me up. There was I just watched a compilation of Al Bundy, the main character, typical dad of America, working in a shoe shop, and every time a fat lady would come in, which was every customer, he would just be like, "Oh, you're really fat," and then laugh tracks galore.
That's like
you
Friends with Monica.
What?
Remember how she used to be fat from Friends?
Oh, there were a lot of fat
Every time,
jokes.
because we've been watching that again, and I don't mean to change the subject. So
No,
abruptly,
go ahead.
But with Friends,
Friends is a good subject.
it's a great subject. She used to be fat, and then people back then thought fat people were hilarious. So the funniest thing ever. Now it doesn't fly.
Chris
As a matter of
Farley.
fact, it's pretty.
Chris Farley.
Chris
yeah,
Farley,
he made a lot of money off of it.
Yeah, fat
Being,
man in a little coat right there, and
Yeah.
then you rip it, and then we all laugh, and
Skinny
he
guy in a
just
little
goes
coat,
home
that wouldn't
feeling
have
terrible,
flown a
and then he
flight.
does a bunch of drugs, and he lives in a van down by the river or something.
I don't think he's alive anymore.
Speaking of, oh, never mind. But I was gonna say, speaking of Christina Ricci, but that's not who was in that sketch and Married with Children. It was Christina Applegate. I had to get there.
Anchorman.
But speaking, because I remember watching. Do you guys remember Eek the Cat, the cartoon?
No.
Oh,
You're gonna have to enlighten me.
It's not a great cartoon. It was just another typical cat
Tweet.
cartoon along with Garfield and Heathcliff. But Eek the Cat, he had a fat girlfriend, and that was the joke of the series was his girlfriend Annabelle was fat and he didn't know it.
Damn, what the?
There was
What the
90s
fuck,
was a
man?
very very different, a little less sensitive time.
Well, now that we're on the subject of fat, let's not get offensive with it, but let's think of other topics.
Oh,
other topics of
that
fat.
are
you know.
PHAT fat, which
Yeah.
was a term that
Yeah.
we
Exactly.
would say a lot on the playground.
Whenever I think
And he's
of
fat. No, he's fat.
Yeah, and
he's sick as fuck, man.
Which-
We're in the fucking Squirtle.
there's the squirrel triangle,
sunglasses,
Yeah.
nothing holding it onto
We all-
his head.
we all wore-
floating in front of his face.
Back before the Cataclysm, we wore these triangle sunglasses, backward hats, and the number one method of transportation was skateboards.
And roller.
While we're eating
And
Butterfingers.
rollerblades.
Longboards.
What about shortboards?
Oh, the little tiny ones that fit just 1 foot.
No, tech decks.
Oh, you're
Oh,
talking about
yeah,
finger
tech
finger
decks, yeah.
skateboards.
That's
But
not
I
what
think
I was
that was.
talking
I
about.
think that's after the '90s, though,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I was trying to remember where that fell in between the apocalypse and
And he's-
It's
plus
hard
or
to
minus
tell.
Golden
five,
Age,
plus or
yeah.
minus 5 years of the year 2000. I don't have a very good memory of.
I feel
Yeah,
like it's
'cause
the
You know what
radiation.
happened
shook it up
during
from
the
the
year
Cataclysm.
2000? I can't even think of
I was
it.
about
The
to say,
radiation.
don't-
It just created a
Ju-
butt.
yeah,
You know, just like
let's not bring it up here. It's very. You're actually really bothering me.
It hurts
You're
my
choking
head
me up. Yeah.
to think.
We're
about
not here to talk
my,
about it.
My head gets real fuzzy.
We're not here to
I
talk
can't
about
get
it.
around that. Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about something else.
Something pleasant,
Yes.
like
Colors of the 90s.
colors of the '90s.
Now, what I really want to know is Pokemon cards.
What do
is
you
that-
need to know?
That started in the '90s. Am I right?
Yeah.
Pokemon, Pocket Monsters.
I was in the 6th grade.
Started
when
when
that was
Gabe was in the
big.
6th grade.
Yeah, which was 2000.
No.
Ooh.
You know what? It didn't start in
No.
the 6th grade.
Let's look it up.
No.
I think it was pop. No, I think maybe it was unpopular in the 6th grade.
It started in like 1996.
Maybe it was 1996. I just remember being maybe in grade school, there was a year where it was super popular. Everyone loved it. And then there was the year after, it was very unpopular to be caught liking Pokemon to the point of
Like you were a
serious
loser or
bullying.
something.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's
You'd
in
be
8th grade and he's playing Pokemon?
Yeah,
what a loser.
There was a
one kid,
threshold
bless
of
his
age
heart.
where it was acceptable.
Yeah,
Because it was for kids. Everybody thought that if you
there
were
was a
playing Pokemon
very
as an
firm
adult,
cutoff.
you're a
Yeah,
very
fucking, I
strange
still play
person
that
as an
shit.
adult playing Pokemon cards.
It'd be like, oh, you still play Pokemon cards? Like you can't be in our Foursquare now. Like you can't play Foursquare with
That is
us.
so true.
The more
Foursquare. Let's talk about those
Oh.
playground games we used to play in the 90s.
kickball, 100%.
Kickball was
yeah.
good. We played a game called Out.
I'm not- I
Now,
don't think I
Out
played
was
that.
something fun. So we had the gymnasium on the out, like just right on the parking lot where we were going on recess. So the parking lot would just go up into a right angle right onto the gym. The gym was really high up. So what we would do is that we would get a tennis ball and we would throw it as hard as we can at the wall, and it would have to bounce once, and then you catch the ball. And if it bounces twice, you have to stay where you catch that ball, and you have to throw it before that person who previously threw it hits the wall first before they do it. And
I
if you
think
hit,
I played that game.
it's kind of like
It
horse.
sounds vaguely familiar.
I have no recollection of this.
Well,
if I did play,
You just have to spell out, but you could. What we would do is like when the guys were just running up, like trying to hit the wall before I threw the ball back, we would just nail those suckers. We would just like just curve that ball right into them.
What
and try
type
to
of
hit
balls
them.
are you using?
Tennis balls. So they
Tennis
pack
balls.
they pack a punch if you throw them.
You're hurling tennis balls at
Yeah.
people.
Well, it was the 90s.
I was innocently playing
All the explanation
dodgeball,
we need. Yeah.
kickball, tetherball. You can't even you can run away from it and not get hit by it because it's on a string.
The catching game.
I was playing the safe balls.
safe balls.
You ever heard of the catching game?
No,
No.
what's
It's
the
another
catching game?
It's another. I didn't mean to go too far into it, but just what I want to say because there's another subject I want to talk about, which was the cicadas.
Oh.
So I feel like that would be a good subject.
That
now,
happened in 2001.
that was definitely for here. It was definitely 2001 because I was driving because I remember the cicada came through my window and humped my eye when Mike Willig was in the
hump?
passenger. Well, it was just like screaming and whatever.
Those
like,
radioactive
screaming?
cicadas.
I assumed it was humping
those
me because that's all they
radioactive
do.
cicadas. Yeah, they
So,
just
like-
hump everything and then die.
So this podcast takes place in Ohio, where I guess I don't know if that's a countrywide thing where they have like cicadas like come out of the ground. I know it's like
No,
it's
there's-
almost like county-wide, wide because I looked it up. They're like every
Different areas. I know that.
different areas have like different yearly cycles or whatever. But like over here, several years ago there was our big cicada thing, and there was just cicadas everywhere, and like people would just like pull off their wings and like hit them with tennis rackets, and like they would fly in my car while I was driving and like make me scream because I
What
was
else-
a sophomore in high school.
What else are you gonna do after an apocalypse?
Wait.
These little bugs just appear out of
Do you
nowhere.
guys
where they're-
remember them before the apocalypse?
No, they're
I'm
very
wondering.
rare. You see them, you
That's
hear
so
them all
weird.
the time, but you don't see them. And then all of a sudden, every 17 years, they come out of the ground and
Every
they
17
run
years,
into everybody's face.
Starting negative 10 years of the cataclysm.
Did you eat one? Did you ever eat
No,
one?
but that was a thing. Like Snappy Tomato Pizza around here, they had Snappy Cicada pizzas.
That makes
that
me
was
want
like
to
a
vomit
special.
right now.
There was like this kid Kyle I went to high school with. You would pay him I think it was $1 or $5, and he would eat one in front of you, and he made money off of that.
There was a
What a
teacher
pit.
I had a teacher that did extra credit if you came in with a cicada and ate it.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
You would just get a better grade if you ate a bug.
I would never do that in a million years.
I would just study.
Yeah, I was just like, I got an A.
Yeah.
I don't have an F. I don't need to eat bugs.
The poor kid with
What's
the
gonna
F
help
was
me?
just like-
One time I used to have this little carrying case because I used to like catch like little critters and stuff whenever we go on vacation. I'd go out and we catch crabs and just fun shit. We'll get into that in some other podcasts about our personal lives, but we're not going to go that too deep into that. But we catch these
Under the
cicadas,
cast.
and yeah, we catch these cicadas, and we would try to prank our teacher. I was kind of the class clown, so I got in trouble a lot. So I got like 30 of these cicadas, including the not brand new. That's probably a bad term, but just come out of the ground kind of ones. They're all white and nasty, crawling around. They're about to pop and open up into their winged, freakish, whatever that's the scientific term I was thinking of.
Yeah.
That was my
Molting
second
process.
guess.
Yes.
So whenever the teacher would open up her drawer, they would all fly out. And they never liked that, so. But, just a fun story.
Also, if you pull off their front legs, their head falls off. Which
That's
I've never
dark.
done, but man,
I saw
children.
There are
I've done
plenty
it.
of kids that are just dying
Gosh.
to show me them pulling off a leg.
Yeah.
then pulling off another leg, and then the head just came out.
That's kind of fucked
Things-
up.
Yeah,
You
it was
know,
just
think
like, come
about
on,
it.
You know
man.
what? You didn't see
Damn.
that shit in the '90s, man. Everything was seriously like when I was watching like a bunch of '90s the things that survived movies and TV shows last night, and like in preparation for this Talk Boy recording that we're doing.
Yeah.
But like everyone was always so happy. Like everything was so goofy and lighthearted and
So it was
such.
we had reasons to be happy back then.
Yeah.
We didn't have smartphones.
Like I watched
They had the big box phone, smartphone, or not smartphone, cell phones.
cell phones.
Sorry, sound
They
like
had
an idiot
those
there.
phones with the cord phones.
Is that what the word is? The
Yeah,
cord?
like they used to plug things into things.
If someone wanted to call me, they would have to make sure like my parents didn't answer. So I'd be like, "Hey, don't answer," and then you know if it was like a girl or something.
Yeah. Oh, my mom used to do this thing. Okay, so my mom used to pull this shit. I didn't know this was a thing that moms did, but like, because we had phones with cords, so your landline would be connected to other phones in the house. So the phone would ring and you would pick up, and unbeknownst to me, my mom would pick up too, and she would listen in on my conversation. If I heard something through her side line, I'd be like, "Mom, are you on?" And then she would start pressing buttons like, "Oh, geez, I didn't know I was on."
What a
I thought
mistake.
I thought she was just
Red-handed.
like beep, beep, beep. Yeah. I thought she was just like airheaded or something, but like I saw that in a movie and I was like, that's a thing.
Your mom probably watched that movie and then did it
I was like,
immediately after.
yes, I'm gonna
That's
get
a
this.
brilliant idea.
I'm gonna learn this, Gabriel. Well, joke's on her because I was fucking straight edge. Like I didn't do anything.
But let's talk about the movies that we really liked back
yeah.
then.
The movies.
So, what would you say your favorite movie was from the '90s, if you had a guess?
I can't pick a number one,
Yeah,
but I can
that's
just
real
list
hard.
some that are arbitrarily up there.
Well, let's
Jurassic
talk-
Park.
I was about to do
Jurassic
one of them.
Park.
Ace
Se-
Ventura is another one.
Oh,
Dumb and
gosh.
Dumber. Dumb and Dumber.
I like that.
That's a good
That should
one.
be the new one. Like,
That's a good one.
Dumb and
Dumber
Dirt.
is great, man.
Dumb and Dur. That should have been the sequel.
Yeah.
And they did Dumb and Dumberer.
Dumb and
Oh,
Derper.
Dumb and
Gosh, did you-
Derper.
Well, they had Dumb and Dumber, which I think was a prequel, right? And then, which I had not seen. And then they had like Dumb and Dumber 2,
Yeah.
which was very
Abominations.
strange.
They were all
Yeah,
Wasn't
that-
there younger versions?
there was one like in between.
Dumb.
Oh,
But
how they
actually
met,
had, like,
how
a
Harry
legitimate
met Floyd
sequel.
or whatever.
You can
Yeah.
so like Dumb and Dumber pre-90s, Dumb and Dumber 2 post-apocalypse, or well, yeah, it's there was a scene without I don't know how graphic we want to get on this podcast.
Dumb and Dumber or
The second
Dumb
Dumb and
and
Dumber,
Dumber?
like the legit like sequel. Spoiler alert, I guess, minor.
It's the '90s, dude. If someone
yeah,
hasn't seen this movie,
Jim
they're not
Carrey's
gonna watch it.
character finger bangs an old woman.
What?
In like a nursing home. Because she's like, there's something hidden up there. I can't remember what it was. Like plot relevant,
You
whatever.
can only get away
MacGuffin.
with this shit in the
this
90s.
post-apocalyptic world we live in.
Well,
I
so-
can't stand it.
Speaking of weird ass shit, Mrs. Doubtfire,
Oh,
that
yeah.
would definitely not fly
Hell-
now. Okay,
In the 90s, though.
in the 90s,
In the
you
90s,
get a
can
slap
have-
on the wrist.
Dude looks like a lady, and they're like, all right, she's
Yeah,
a nanny.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't just break, law. Like, you didn't
Oh,
break the law,
a
and you didn't
restraining
dress
order law.
as an old woman. Like
He was a loving parent, though.
Did
he was
you-
a father.
He made
to
them
his
laugh.
children.
He's funny, so he gets a slap on the wrist.
I feel like Robin Williams in real life could have gotten away with that, though. Like, he had that kind of clout.
He's charming enough that it's so funny.
Yeah.
That I would just be like, you know what? I know you're a dude, but I'm just gonna let you keep doing
I saw the
this
toilet seat up.
because it's really
Yeah.
entertaining to me that you're this committed to being a woman just to be around us.
Have you
I
guys
admire that.
seen the YouTube like cut of Mrs. Doubtfire that makes it a horror movie like
Absolutely.
trailer?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
hilarious.
It's amazing. I would recommend watching that, listeners. Like,
If this wasn't made in the '90s, if this was made now, it would be a horror movie for sure.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Undoubtedly.
But no, that kind of stuff is hilarious to them. But speaking of Robin Williams, though, Jumanji.
Oh,
yeah!
Hold on, Jinx. That's a thing that was in the '90s. Now you guys gotta
Uh,
buy me a Coke or whatever.
Well,
There's no Cokes
that mean
nearby.
we can't
Gabe.
talk?
Yeah, you gotta buy
90s
it.
rules
You
no
have to
longer
go out and
apply.
buy it.
I don't care.
Get on your fucking skateboards.
We're in 2017. I'm not abiding by 20-year-old rules.
the cataclysm took Jinx from me.
but Jumanji, though.
Jumanji was fantastic.
Did you ever play the board game?
I did.
I guaranteed if someone put that in front of me, like when it was relevant. Like at that time,
Yeah.
I would not have played that game.
Because it'd be terrifying.
Yeah,
because
I
it's
would-
No
very
kidding.
similar.
I thought I was just like, ooh, I know nothing's gonna happen, but maybe if,
That's
maybe
what
if
I
something
thought.
does happen, it'll be really interesting.
It's gonna happen this time.
Live
I'm gonna
Robin
get in that
Williams.
jungle. Just you wait.
Yeah, live like his character, which is a real tragic story about a child who becomes a man over the course of like
Right.
29
It's a terrible
years.
29
fate.
years in a jungle.
Living
and he,
in
like,
the jungle.
And he
That's
like
terrible.
He comes to like the modern world and he's like, oh, toilet paper. I haven't seen this in 29 years. I've been just
Using leaves.
Using
using
leaves.
Yeah.
And trying not to get
That
eaten
is
by
the most
plants.
terrifying thing about that movie is that he did not have toilet paper. For me, like it's very
Forget the
very
mosquitoes.
mosquitoes.
Poisonous.
Forget the spiders.
Yeah.
Toilet
Poisonous
paper was
plants.
absent.
And
I didn't say these weren't scary. It's just like no
How-
toilet paper. That's a real thing. That
they just made a
happens.
Jumanji 2. They're making it's coming
No.
out. Yeah, and
Really?
Kevin Hart and Dwayne the Rock Johnson is the stars, and Jack Black.
Was The
Oh,
Rock
gosh, I hate
prevalent
Jack Black.
in the 90s or beyond? The
He
apocalypse?
was in wrestling, I'm sure.
I didn't follow wrestling all that
I-
well, so I don't know.
He was always cooking something, but no one ever knew what it was.
But you could smell it.
So
You
now
would
he's
always
cooking
ask
up
us.
these weird ass sequels.
Yeah.
Jumanji 2.
Jumanji
Who
2.
wants that?
I picture
Who
like
needs it?
Day one,
Nobody.
Jumanji comes out. The Rock's like little baby Rock is in the theater, little Pebble, and he's like
Lil Pebs.
little Pebs, and he's watching Jumanji. He's like, man, I gotta make a sequel, and it took him like 20
After
something
the
years to
apocalypse.
the apocalypse to get that greenlit.
But yeah, and Jumanji, that shit is crazy. When I played that board game, I definitely felt that way. Where I was like, I always played kind of where it was like
Gosh,
dim
I'm
lit.
surprised that you
It
guys
was a
had
little
The
like,
things were
exciting.
scarier
It
in
was
the board
titillating.
game. They
Yeah.
were so much scarier in the board game than they were in the like. There was a tornado one or something.
Things
like,
that just like murder you straight up. Like you don't even have a chance to survive.
like not just limited to monkeys, rhinos, and elephants
Oh
and
my.
crocodiles. It's like it delves deep into the terrifying world of the Amazon before human civilization.
and we saw the movie, and we were
Yeah.
somehow compelled to play this game with worse consequences than the movie,
Throw a
which were
sequel.
already pretty bad.
Yeah.
So kids in the 90s, we were just like, yeah, bring it on.
except
And
for
then
this-
the apocalypse.
What's the worst that could happen? A
Except
bunch
for
of
this
monkeys
kid
get
who
out
was
of
way too straight edge to play the Jumanji board game.
damn.
Did you guys watch the Jumanji cartoon?
No.
I didn't watch a
see
lot of
but
it.
I remember it.
But there was one takeaway that I had. So same characters or whatever. Not their same voice, but there was like, you remember the hunter from the movie?
Yeah.
Who was like hunting Robin Williams for all that time.
His
or whatever.
dad actually in the movie.
I was about to say
played
it
that
was his
same
dad,
guy.
the same actor.
Oh,
that played-
really?
Yeah. So he
Oh,
plays two different roles in that.
That
movie.
I feel like there's some sort of like deeper
thing.
meaning kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah,
for that.
absolutely. I mean,
Uh,
it's not super shallow.
But like the cartoon, the thing that like terrified me about the cartoon was that the hunter guy was like chasing him in the beginning of an episode, and he was like shooting at him, and like the kid somehow like, I don't remember if he pushed him off a cliff or whatever, like murdered the hunter, like he was dead.
He killed him.
Yeah, he killed him, and then he took
Only
his
in the
like.
90s.
Oh, no, but like,
Didn't.
no, that's not the scary part. The scary part was like the kid, like he took his like little whipping stick, which I don't know if it was in the movie or not, like a little like brown stick with like a little whipping thing, I guess, like the thing
I
kind
don't
of thing
think
like
he had that in the movie.
that you would like hit like a horse's behind
Yeah,
with, I
yeah.
think. But like he was the kid was like whipping it around and stuff, and like just like terrorizing his sister with it, and then he started to become the hunter. And it was
What?
like, yeah, that was
That's actually interesting.
yeah, so like the rules of the game were like if you kill the hunter, because it's kind of like cheating, I
You
guess.
become the hunter.
You become the hunter. So he started like putting on like those like
What the
those
fuck?
those British safari like clothes and stuff.
yeah.
Like,
Mind
and they're
blown.
Like,
I
oh,
don't
no.
like African safari hat. And
Yeah.
just those tan like jacket, button-up shirt type thing,
yeah.
and an elephant gun.
I mean, and that's it. But like, how terrifying is that? I don't remember how they. Obviously, they probably reversed it somehow because I don't think that's how the series progressed. But
That's pretty interesting. Kudos to those writers. I didn't see it though,
Speaking
and I'll
of-
never see it ever
like,
again.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to really delve into that one.
well, I told you the best part. so.
Yeah, you told us everything.
Spoiler
we
alert.
and our
Literally
listeners
everything that you need to know about it.
Spoiler
Jumanji
alert for you
cartoon.
listeners there.
Spoiler alert for that like 30-year-old
Jumanji cartoon. Did you just start on episode one?
I
We're
am the
sorry.
you never heard
person
of.
who watched, yeah. But so speaking of jungles and stuff, who remembers Legends of the Hidden Temple on Nickelodeon?
How could you forget?
Yeah.
The most stressful show I've ever watched as a child.
You know, because
That
of
fucking
the silver
monkey.
monkey, the silver
The
monkey.
silver monkey. Nobody could put it together.
These children.
it's impossible.
They put the head on the butt, and they're fucked
And
for
like
the rest of the
legs are facing
thing.
one way, and the arms are facing the other fucking polar different direction.
It's just
And then
a
some creepy
stress-
guy in a tribal outfit comes out,
That
grabs
was
him, and
weird.
takes him away.
Like, did he have underwear
Takes him
on, like
away.
under his loincloth? Because like they don't.
I'm pretty
like,
sure
wear
he was wearing nothing,
Again,
and they just censored it out in the
that
90s.
just really
I felt like- yeah.
fortifies my no pedophilia before the cataclysm.
I feel like the whole show, though, the whole obstacle course is totally doable.
Oh,
I wanted to be on that so bad as a kid.
Just
Like,
not
every
that
kid's
puzzle.
like, I've seen this.
No, I could do the puzzle. Like
I don't know if anyone else. I don't think
pieces.
It's
Who-
stressful. You're on camera. There's an audience. There's a guy coming out he's gonna grab you.
He's gonna
There's a
get you.
timer. There's a lot of things.
This
that go
pantless
into
man
this.
behind you's gonna grab you.
He's just looking,
Only in the 90s.
waiting to grab.
When you mention it like that, that's another thing that
He's
you could like.
sweating, tense
So try to
up,
put a
ready to
pel-
grab you.
I'll stand in a dark doorway, stare at you, and say, "Gabe, try to do this puzzle. I'm gonna grab you in 30
gets-
seconds if you
I'm
don't
gonna
do
grab
it."
Dude gets paid to do this. He's messed
He's
up.
a professional.
That's on his
That's
resume
another
for life.
thing that we can
You're
like,
not putting this monkey together.
that we can like reshoot in in the current day and like make it a horror movie.
Oh, man.
like these
Absolutely.
children.
That's terrifying.
Because like the first kids, like the very first like challenge that you would have to do is you swing across the moat, and just like 7 kids would drown. Like
What if they ultimately feed the kids to Olmec, the ones who don't win?
It's at
Oh
the
my
big
The
talking
God.
big talking
I didn't
head.
remember that name. That's impressive.
Yeah. Everybody
Casting his
gets
research.
fed into Olmec in the end, except for the winner.
That's your prize.
Oh my god.
There was
Yeah.
a Goosebumps story that was like that. Do you guys remember
Ooh,
Camp
really?
Jelly Jam?
Goosebumps used to give me nightmares too.
I
Just
remember
looking at
Goosebumps
those covers,
a lot.
dude.
It
I
was-
was
freaked
a
me out a
baby
lot,
about
but I
it.
don't remember that episode.
I don't know if it was called Camp Jelly Jam or like my day at Camp Jelly Jam or my summer or whatever. But anyway, the whole thing was like you would get like the kids would compete and it was like really rigorous like challenges and you would get medals, and for doing good, and like the kids who got the most medals they would be taken away at the end. Or like if you got so many medals, you got taken away. And the one kid, like I can't remember if he got as many medals or he snuck off to see where these kids were going. And it turns out they were being fed to a big slime monster. And the way that like the kid like beat the monster, from what I remember, is they the kids with the medals, they had to sit and hose this thing down to keep it like moisturized all day, and then it would just eat one every once in a while or something, or maybe it ate like the bad kids without medals. I don't remember, but it
What
would
the fuck?
to get away from the monster, they would like lay on the ground so like it couldn't like pick the kids up with like its slimy hands.
So what?
Slimy
Now that we're on the
hands.
topic of Goosebumps.
Oh, please.
I love the Goosebumps topic.
Yes.
What is the scariest story / episode that you remember?
Ooh. I did watch with Amelia. I think it was 2 Halloweens ago. We watched the Haunted Mask. Which is a very
That
big
one,
one.
That's probably my number one scariest.
That
Like that
is
freaked
terrifying.
me. As a kid, that was
She-
like the scariest thing I could imagine.
I don't remember like the book being scary, but like the
Graphic, like
the
visual
yeah.
representation of
TV
it.
show?
the TV show
Yeah.
one, like she's like trying to pull like this
Yeah,
mask off
and
her
it
face,
doesn't
and
come
It
off.
doesn't come off. It's
Oh
part
my
of her
God.
skin, and it is like, oh, that's how she lives now. Like that's a thing. And like I was, as an adult watching this a couple years ago, terrified for this little girl who I know would be okay. Spoilers.
She's all right at the end.
Yeah.
But if you're in that situation, it's terrifying.
Like, it doesn't even
Any
matter if
kid
I spoil it 'cause it was
imagining like
terrifying,
that
yeah.
that happens to me. Like, why is she put on the mask originally?
Makes me think of The Mask, the
she
movie.
Because she was like a loser kid. Like she got made fun of a lot, or she was scared of everything.
What
That's
was
what it
the mask? Like, how did she find it? Why'd she put it
She
on?
wandered into like an old decrepit like mask store that was like closing down or is about to move or something, and like there was no one in there, and she went into the back and she's like, oh, this mask is the scariest. I want this mask so I can scare other people.
Was it Halloween or something?
It was Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yes.
yeah,
It's
and
all
she
coming back.
she got more than she bargained for.
Man,
let
yeah.
me tell
She
ya.
got more than target.
I had to like take a step back from Goosebumps. Like I was like, I don't trust this show anymore because it gives me nightmares, and like I'm really nervous about these unlikely things happening.
They showed that like when it was contemporary, like in my like library class in grade school, they popped that orange VHS into the VCR
Yep.
and showed us that scary ass shit. We were
Yeah.
kids. We're like,
I watched
this
that
isn't
in
gonna
grade-
get us to read books.
I watched it at
Kids,
home.
let me just ruin your lives for a second.
But I did read those books. I did
I love
read some
those
of those
books,
stories.
yeah.
I was like, maybe it's not as scary just to read it.
Our mutual friend Joe, he read, I think it was 1 through 50 or 60 before like he like started tapering off. Like he like religiously every like time those would come out.
That's awesome.
I love to read. Like
We should bring him on as a guest, like a Goosebumps.
A Goosebumps
specific expert, yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, we don't
But,
have
like,
to stay on Goosebumps forever.
I remember. Well, his dad took us to Walden Books, which I believe is dead now, like Blockbuster, like it's defunct. And I love going in there, buying a new Goosebump book, and like just like smelling the pages because of that new like book smell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I never read any of them because I always
What?
I don't know. I was a big baby, I guess, but there were some covers that just grossed me the hell out. Like
Some of them were
like a
just
hamster that was.
disturbing.
Do you remember the hamster that
Yeah,
couldn't
I
fit in
read-
its
I
cage
read
and it was
both
like
those hamster
leaking
stories.
green slime? I'm like, why would I want to read this? This
Yeah.
sounds
I
disgusting.
think it like got like really big and like terrorized like a city or something.
Oh
What was there
my
an
God.
episode where like a dad in his basement was doing something with plants, and like these plants totally encompassed their house and like turned him into a big green
I don't think I read
weird
that one.
monster?
What happened in it?
I don't know.
That's
That's as
Something
much,
terrible.
That's as
It
much
was-
detail
it
as
gave
I
me
remember.
goosebumps.
Gave us lots
It was
of
another
goose-
one of the episodes. I'm probably horribly wrong on the details, but there's something involving like a family and like something goes wrong with plants and their dad being.
What
it's
about
just bad.
Say Cheese and Die, which was so for Pat's benefit, it was this kid finds this like magic camera or whatever, and when he takes pictures of people, it curses them, and you see what like that curse is on like the
The
floppy Polaroid that comes out.
You had to shake it
Yeah, he had to shake it like a Polaroid picture
because it was a pole,
because it was, yeah.
and that's what you did with it.
But I remember like the kid like he took a picture of this girl, and she like started like in the picture she was like super skinny, and she started like losing a lot of weight, like became like cursed to be anorexic. And then she took a picture of him somehow, like he like accidentally like fumbled the button because kids are really dumb. And
in the 90s.
in the 90s,
In the 90s.
kids would just like fumble shit like whoa. And,
Oh God! I picture myself with this camera.
Oh, he took like 2 or 3 pictures. I don't think it was in. I don't
Fool.
I mean,
right in
really,
the camera's
come
trap.
on, kid. You know what it's capable of. Handle it properly.
Really though, like
Couldn't
after
add
the
a
first
strap?
picture, it's like
No.
okay, let's think this through. But I remember he kept taking pictures of himself for some reason. Like he like did 2 or 3. Like he got like real fat again. 90s, things get fat and it's funny or weird or whatever. And then like he took another picture of himself, like I guess to try to see if like he would get skinny like the girl or something. But like he just had like dumb logic, and then instead it just gave him scaly skin. And so he's like this fat like scaly skin guy. I remember he was trying to march, like this is a very vivid passage in the book for some reason. He was trying to march like down the street with the girl. He was holding the girl because the wind was blowing her away, and he was fat, so the wind wasn't blowing him as he was like trying to solve whatever problem that he created for himself.
Huh. So fatness saved the day.
Yeah, very strange, not very 90s kind of thing.
So it was
Yeah.
anti-90s.
Yeah.
Well,
It was
speaking
very
of
progressive, actually.
fat in the 90s, The Nutty Professor is
Oh
a
my
great
gosh.
example
Ooh,
of
yes.
how they think fat people are funny. What a weird
Hercules?
time.
Not just one fat person. How about an entire family
yeah.
of fat people?
Oh, God.
And they're all played by the same guy. Eddie
That's
Murphy.
the twist. That's
Can
the
you think
twist.
of a better actor of the 90s than Eddie Murphy? The answer is yes. It's not a trick question. I'm just saying.
You were trying to get me to change topics by naming a better actor.
But yeah.
Well,
I guess we can't.
yeah.
Wow,
Jeff
this is a-
Goldblum.
This is kind of a. Oh, I like Jeff Goldblum.
I wouldn't name him the best, though. I just
Yeah.
like him.
So Jurassic Park was huge because.
It's bigger than big.
Pat, I know you're like a little bit younger than us, but we're like dinosaurs like still like super huge when you were like a kid. Because
I read the book, and I read that in a day. I was
like
It's a
when it
great
was
book.
around like that time. I've read the book as well.
Yeah, it was right around that. I read it in grades. It was messed up, kind of.
Yeah.
For a kid to read it, I mean, I was only probably
Yeah, but-
like 9 when I read it. And, velociraptors using their claw intestines. Spoiler. It's terrible.
People get disemboweled.
But I love dinosaurs, man. I love
That
dinosaurs.
sense of awe, like the first time you're watching Jurassic Park, everybody can vividly imagine when they pan to like the dinosaurs for the first time, and they got John Williams' score
Gosh,
playing.
that was. I was 5. I was 5 when that movie came out, 5 or 6, and that was the second movie I ever saw in a theater. First
Yeah,
one
but
was
T-Rex.
I saw it in theater too. It
Yeah.
was amazing.
It was, and it should have like
I
scared
was
the
so
pants
young.
off me, but it was amazing, and I loved it.
It holds up to this day.
It does.
Yeah, I've
I
Because
don't
of the
think
special
there could
effects
ever
they
be
use.
another good dinosaur movie ever again. Like that, if you cannot make it.
Definitely
World was
not
okay.
Jurassic
No,
World.
I'm not
Jurassic
saying.
World's
I'm
not
talking
that
about
good.
not Jurassic Park, like,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
but like any other like off-brand Jurassic Park, like not Jurassic Park.
yeah, like Land Before Time.
Well, you got me there.
Littlefoot.
The
Talk
shark
about
tooth.
heartbreaking moments. Are you
Yeah.
trying to make me cry?
That show,
Thinking about his mother dying.
that show was like pretty emotional.
The movie?
I actually
Land
I don't
Before
remember it at all. Like I
The
definitely
Star
watched it when I was a
Trees,
kid.
Littlefoot's
Tree
mom.
Stars.
Yeah,
Tree stars, that's what they are.
get water off of them. The
It's like
Littlefoot's
the
mom
snack.
dies. I mean, it's
Spoiler,
kind of like a
spoiler.
Bambi moment, you know.
Spoiler.
So, by the way, we're gonna.
We're talking
spoil
about
some
everything in the
90s.
90s. There's nothing that's going to be spoiled.
I guess it's not a spoiler because we're actually dictating what happened in the 90s.
This
like
is what
we're
happened.
actually like
His mother
researchers and-
died. And it's just
Yeah.
like one of the
That's
most
just what
heartbreaking
happened.
and so dark. It's done so dramatically well that as a kid you actually feel that like, what if I didn't have a mom? Like that's something
It makes you
don't
think about mortality. At a
yeah,
very
you
young
don't want to
age.
be thinking about that when you're watching that movie, but it instilled those thoughts into me like when I was so young.
Was that was like a theme in the 90s, like kids like parents and or animals dying
Yeah.
in movies, like
Well,
all the Disney movies.
yeah. I'm gonna do a chain of spoilers here, like
Yeah,
like
just so you know, a lot of
Bambi,
people are about to die.
Old Yeller, which I don't know, that might have been a little older, but
Simba.
Bambi's way over.
yeah, Simba. So wait, Simba's dad, or was he?
Hey, whoa.
Mufasa. died.
Mufasa, that's his
Yeah.
Lion King, yeah.
I saw that in the theater. I have not seen that since.
His
Really?
dad,
You saw it in theater though?
I saw it in the theater.
What was that like?
It was like the home version, but like on a bigger screen.
I saw it in theater, and it was. I remember my family was with me, and everybody loved it. My grandma, my mom, my sister, me. I was like, "This is a great movie. This is a great
You
story."
guys are like looking at each other like, this is great.
Everybody at the end was
But the
smiling and
burst of
happy.
joy,
like, this
like-
is such a good movie. Like I remember that, like vividly, seeing everybody around me being happy to have just watched that for the first time on a big screen, because it's a great movie.
It makes me just want to burst with joy right now.
Yeah, but Mufasa dies, and that's something that
By that
again
son
you're
of
just
a
like
bitch
his
Scar.
parent just gets
Traitor.
murdered, and you have to
Murked.
deal with those feelings of death. Like it's
They
just
had
prominent
they
in
had
the
to show
90s.
the next part where Simba has to like actually confront his dead father.
Yeah, like
And
crying and
the,
he's not
the
moving.
sad African music in the background, and he's
I think
crying.
I think they're playing Africa by Toto. if
I'm
not mistaken.
crying. My parents are crying. The people next to me are crying. We're all crying, and we're all sharing such a beautiful moment because of this terrible, terrible thing that's happened.
Because Mufasa was not crying anymore.
No, he
So-
couldn't cry with us.
As soon as you mentioned that you watched that movie with your family, I had like an instant, like this whole time, that's why I've been quiet, is because I've been like flashing back to this horrible experience I had where I was watching the movie James Cameron's Titanic.
Okay, I
Which
saw
was-
that in theaters
that
too.
was-
with
You're
my
talking
mom.
about
movie.
the 2 VHS.
Well,
Tapes that
I'm
it
talking
came in?
before
I saw
they
it
went
in
to
theater.
VHS, baby, it was in the theater.
Before your story, just 5 second short snippet. I remember being the most bored of my life up until that point, watching
Until
that
the
movie
iceberg?
in the theaters. Yeah, because nothing happens when you're a kid. You're just like, I don't care about this love
Well,
story.
when you're a kid, you're like a little like preteen, and that movie comes out, and you're watching it in the theater. There is one exciting thing that happens before that ship goes under, and it's draw me like one of your French women. Oh yeah, booby out. Also saw it with my mom.
Ayo.
Most awkward thing I've ever shared with my mom was watching that scene with that movie, and I'm like
Yep.
8 or 9. I'm like, whoa.
I was
She
in the
looks
movie.
at you, like
No.
watches you.
If she
No,
looked at me,
everybody
I wouldn't
looks
have
straight
known.
ahead.
Yeah, I had
Everybody looks
blinders
straight
on.
ahead.
I was like
Never
checking,
talk about it again.
checking my
kinda moment.
gigapet. You know, like
Yeah, I remember that
This.
moment too because not only was I bored the majority of the time, there was one very short period where I was extremely just awkward, embarrassed. Like, I don't really even want to be seeing this movie. But now I'm watching a sex scene with these people in a car. Like, I understand what it is, but I don't really know what sex is.
Yeah,
It's
I had
kinda,
no idea.
I don't know what I'm looking at. Kind
I
of
shouldn't
thing.
be here. What is this movie?
You should be here.
That was
bad pick.
Gosh, that was
Bad pick.
the first boob I ever saw. was in the theater with my
Oh,
mom
man,
in
that-
like 1996.
First boob I ever saw. I'm gonna have to think about that one. That's a good. I'm gonna come back to that later.
I'm trying to think of like
That
early,
makes me
early
think-
90s boobs. Yeah.
I was totally going off subject back to Pokemon. I
Oh,
just remember the
hey,
Pokemon
Pokemon.
movie came out. Remember that?
Yeah,
I love
and I
that.
saw it
Talking
in
about a
theaters.
tearjerker. Like, well, funny story.
Oh my gosh.
I went to see it with my aunt, and we just had McDonald's. I don't know what happened, but as soon as we walked in that theater, I puked it all over the floor. It was like my entire burger
You were
was
so
on the floor.
excited. You were like, you had just got like because they gave those
I
promo
finished
cards
it.
when you saw the movie in the theater and stuff. You're like, oh boy, I got a mutant.
But they had a CD that came with this movie.
Wait,
a
what?
soundtrack. It was a yellow CD with Pikachu's face on it. It was adorable.
That they gave out at the theater? Or you mean like you bought it like at Media Play?
I probably Media Play.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
That died out with you.
He did that on purpose. But yeah, I listened to that soundtrack on repeat all night, every night for months.
That's interesting.
It had some.
I had
good
no
music
idea
on
such
it.
soundtrack existed. I probably would listen to it all the time too,
Did
but
it-
I literally had no idea.
Did it have like a
internet
lullaby
wasn't as
version
prevalent.
of like
It had the
I
Pokemon
wanna
theme
be
song.
The very best.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
You have to like put yourself to sleep.
Dun 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 dun.
Like real quiet jams.
To catch them is my
Man,
Oh,
Ash
yeah.
turning into like a statue in that movie
Tearjerker.
every damn time.
Don't ever watch that movie now, though, because
'Cause you'll cry.
it will ruin the magic for it. Because when I rewatched it 2 years ago, actually, and it is so straight to the point. The whole movie, like it doesn't even give you a break in between. Like you don't know how these people get there. All of a sudden, they're like from the airport where like the storm happened. They're all freaking out, and all of a sudden, next scene, they're like already there, like at the place, and it's just like, oh well, they're just moving, like. No breaks here, like, but it was emotional. It was the '90s, man. Like that kind of story didn't matter to me in movies like it does now.
Did a Pokemon die?
Ash, well,
There was a lot of like Pokemon fighting each other and they didn't want to.
clones of
Which
themselves.
I remember
Very
just like
odd theme to put forward in that.
Well, I remember just like the
franchise.
TV show where like Pikachu is like near death and Ash is like crying and he comes back. There's
No,
some
that's when he was
episode-
struck by lightning. Or no, he wasn't. I'm an idiot because he strikes lightning into his foes. It was he was attacked by sparrows or Pidgeys or
Sparrows.
something.
Oh, right in the beginning.
And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Talk
that's
about another like dark, just like kind of
dark
dramatic
moment.
child thing to witness. Like,
The episode where Charmander's tail was about to go out.
Oh, I
Ooh,
remember
yeah.
that.
Yeah, like that was also a tearjerker there.
Okay.
we only remember the
Indigo
very
League.
sad things because they evoke such emotional responses out of us.
Okay,
The
like,
core
so-
memories in our lives. now.
Yeah,
Before I said 90s was so happy, I forgot about all the sad times.
and now it's like we're not so sad
It's a
because we
sad
had to deal
cast.
with all these emotions
Sad.
in the 90s. Death.
Can we talk about how
Fat
Ash
people.
Ketchum...
Fat people.
Oh, God.
Ash
Yeah,
Ketchum.
Snorlax. They made fun of... Anyway.
Snorlax
Yeah.
wouldn't get up. He was lazy. Blocking the road.
Yeah.
Inconvenient.
But can we talk about how Ash Ketchum is a very bad Pokemon trainer?
He's not very good. He's a very stubborn piece of shit.
Yeah, he wouldn't catch Pokemon.
No.
he had like
He loved
He
his
whined a
Pikachu.
lot, is what he did.
yeah he
And
He
he's a
struggled.
big bragger. He brags a lot, but he always embarrasses himself. Like he never learns. He's also immortal. Like he is the same age throughout the entire time of the show.
there were weird like themes like that where like Ash never aged even though like very very many episodes passed, but also that there were like 1,000 Nurse Jennies or is Jenny the cop? But there were like 1,000 of the
Jenny.
nurses.
What was
Nurse
the
Joy.
other one?
Nurse
Joy.
Joy.
Nurse
and
Joy
Nurse
and
Joy.
Officer Jenny.
Officer Jenny. Yeah, there were one of each in every like town. They were like all cloned.
What if it was all different dimensions, and they just kept
Every
going
time.
through?
Parallel
That's
Oh, fan
really
theory.
cool. Like there's a red dimension and a blue dimension, and that's why some Pokemon don't cross.
But then a yellow dimension.
You remember
appears.
yeah.
playing this on the first Game Boy though? You know,
Yes.
I'm talking about
Yes.
the Game Boys where you had to be in a certain kind of light in the middle of the night to see it.
Contrast.
So, yeah.
Up and down.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember one time I was staying there at my grandparents for some reason. And when I was staying there, my grandpa was getting mad at me because he just wanted me to go to bed, I guess. And
Did you have a light on it?
No,
Like one
he
of those
was
little
in the
accessory
kitchen, and I
lights?
was in the family room, just like laying on the couch. But I had the Game Boy, the first Game Boy out, and I was playing that. I was in Lavender Town, and I was freaking out,
It's a little
dude.
spooky,
I
a lot of ghosts.
I was like, I could get caught by my grandpa and by a ghost right now. The possibilities are unlimited,
You were
limitless.
you like living on the edge. You played
Yeah.
Jumanji. You played this Pokemon game on your grandpa's
yeah.
couch. Wow.
The Lavender Town, though, that was so freaky because
I
remember
loved it.
it would show like a ghostly figure would appear, and it was like an actual ghost, and then they would just be like your Pokemon would be too scared to fight and shit.
There's some dark
And-
stories with those Pokemon.
God, yeah,
Like
there's
Cubone
the
and his
messed up.
mom.
Yeah,
He's wearing the skull.
The skull of his mom. Every
His
Cubone
mom.
wears every Cubone's mom's skull.
It's just all really
Did,
messed up.
So okay. The scariest, number one scariest, probably to date, scariest video game thing that ever happened to me. Did you guys ever play Banjo-Kazooie?
I did.
Did
Are you talking about
remember
the
when you just,
shark?
Yeah, when you just go in the water and the shark appears and it's like, oh, I can't complete this part of the game because there's a shark in the water and it scares the shit out of me, like as a child.
What did
It was
I
the
don't
most
remember this part.
nightmarish
What happened?
shark.
Okay, so it was in two worlds. It was in the Treasure Trove Cove, I think, like the pirate world, and then it was also in Rusty Bucket Bay, but it was only like in part of like the water. But like you would, if no matter what part of the water you touched, like it would just form out of nowhere and it would like talk to you and be like, I'm gonna eat your banjo or whatever. But like you know how they talk in that
Jesus
game, like it
Christ.
just like made like crunching noises, like crunching shark noises.
Right.
And like it would just like take a chunk out of your ass and be like half your health. And it was terrifying because you're a bear in the water and you can't swim that fast. And like the sharks, you know, it's like it's its territory. It's like the
I remember at that point I stopped playing the game because I was like, this is scary.
Hands down, scariest moment in video gaming history. My entire life was playing Resident Evil 2 on the Nintendo 64. You go into an interrogation room. Two-way mirror.
Oh my gosh,
You can't see anything.
I didn't get that far.
Walk inside, you're like, that mirror's really freaky. They're focused on it. And it's just like,
Oh,
the
man.
shot has the mirror perfectly there. You're like, something's going to happen. Something is going to happen. You're walking around this table. You grab an item. You wait. Nothing happens. You walk back. You go in front of the mirror. Nothing happens. You go to open the door. Nothing happens. You come back. You go through this room like 2 or 3 times. And you come back on like
Was
the
it, like, linked
second or third
To
time.
like another room, like did it have 2 doors? You would come in one and go out. the
No,
other?
it's just one room. But you have to go back to it for multiple reasons.
Okay.
The second time you go back to it, you're not expecting anything because you're like, nothing happened the first time.
And they put
Walk
so
in front
much
of the mirror the
emphasis on
first
the
time.
mirror.
Yep.
Oh,
Still,
man.
so much emphasis on the mirror. It's dead quiet. No music. And all of a sudden, breaking glass. One of those lickers that have a really long tongue and they're
oh,
red.
man.
Those guys
And they're
were
like,
tough.
they go and jump on you and they kill you in one hit. I literally, as a kid, could not process that amount of stress in a short amount of time where I just dropped the controller and I got up and I walked out of my room because I was like, I can't deal with that. That was the scariest thing I've ever experienced.
They don't make games like quite like as cinematic as that anymore, where you have like a fixed camera angle. Like Silent Hill was pretty good with like getting you like the camera would be set up in such a way that you would focus on like a certain thing in a
Yep.
room or something. Like
Resident Evil
was
just
good.
like pioneered that fixed angle.
Yeah, like they don't make that anymore. Like I mean the scary games today are pretty cool, but like in a very different way.
And even with outdated graphics, looking back at it, pretty primitive.
I'm glad we're talking about video games though. How
Yes.
about Star Fox 64?
I love
about
that
it?
game so much.
Who didn't play it?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you died and you lost all your lives, you had to start all the way from the beginning, didn't you?
They might have had a continue thing.
I think there was a continue.
I don't know. That
Whenever
game was
I played
pretty
it,
brutal.
It was
yeah,
tough, though.
It was tough.
Like, especially if you went like the hard route, like the red line route that's like at the top.
You have to do
like,
very
the hard
specific
planets.
events.
Do a barrel roll.
Don't barrel roll. Classic 90s.
Yeah.
There were like because if you went through like the easy route, you got to fight Andros, but like he was just a robot, and as a kid, I felt very unsatisfied by that.
Yeah.
And so then like I worked really hard and rented that game very many times.
Me too.
A fucking
Yeah,
I didn't own
blockbuster.
it.
Yeah.
I rented it so many times. I lived 2 blocks away from a Blockbuster. I rented so
You
many
lucky-
N64 games.
Lucky dog.
It was on Glenway Avenue, nearby, for those in Cincinnati.
Yes.
That place was great. That's where the ice cream place is now, right?
I'm not sure.
I used to-
I
Wingstop.
haven't been there in a while, actually.
Yeah.
Used to rent from Movie Warehouse that was also in Glenway. And Movie Warehouse is a name that probably hasn't been uttered since the Cataclysm. But like,
Anyway,
they would
back
have-
to the games.
Oh yeah. But like, I loved. What did I rent there all the time? I would rent like stupid stuff because it didn't matter.
I rented
You pay like
everything.
$3.
Every
Yeah.
fucking game.
I rented the Home Alone game and it was terrible, but I
Yeah.
played it. Like,
Oh man.
I remember playing like multiple times. Like, I didn't know what to get. I played all the games, but there was like one game I was like, did I play this? I don't remember if it's bad or not. I'm gonna go home and play it again. And it's like that Home
It's
Alone
like, oh,
game
yeah.
where you're just like, God damn it.
Collecting, like,
It's a clunker.
terrible.
I can't do
So, Home
anything.
Alone.
I already rented it.
Awesome classic movie.
I have 5 days. I have to play this piece of shit and
You had
take
to
it back.
like, you had to like collect. I remember you had to collect like animals. Like, it didn't
You had
make
to collect a
any
lot of
sense.
stuff in those
Oh.
games. You don't do that stuff anymore.
Yeah, well,
It's the
think-
games
oh,
were based
oh,
on.
Oh, really? Because I
collecting
feel like
stuff.
there was a lot of fetch quests in modern games. Like I tried
Well,
to play WoW when it was like.
I'm talking about
coming out.
coins, feathers, like Banjo-Kazooie kind of feathers, and like
Yeah.
Super Mario kind of coins. You don't do
Donkey
that stuff
Kong
that much.
64,
Donkey
yeah.
Kong 64 was so hard, dude.
I collected all the bananas. Like everything you could collect 100% that game.
They had a rap too,
I
didn't
did.
they?
Yeah. And you could play the original Donkey Kong inside that game.
Oh my god.
There was an arcade cabinet set up where you could walk up to it and just like press A, and the screen would just turn into the original Donkey Kong.
That's pretty awesome.
And you play it. And I spent more time doing that than playing the actual game because I never had any other way of playing the original Donkey Kong before that point.
Well, that reminds me of Super Smash Brothers,
Oh,
and you were talking about
Oh
the
my
story
gosh.
earlier.
Okay, so this is a true story. I invented Super Smash Brothers when I was a kid, or so I thought.
How
so?
so?
Like,
How so?
I subscribed to Nintendo Power, the Nintendo official
You
magazine.
had a subscription.
I had a fucking subscription for like a year.
baby.
For like a year, yeah. Like it was right
It's
when
like Game Informer nowadays.
yeah, like Game Informer, the increasingly useless magazine you get when you go to GameStop and get a card from there. But but Nintendo Power. So I would write into Nintendo Power because you could do that, and like, and I was like, hey guys, can you make a video game for me? And I was like, I want it to be like a fighting game, but it has Mario in it, and it's got like Donkey Kong in it, and it's got James Bond in it because GoldenEye was contemporary and very, very, very big at the time, and I had no idea what licensing was, So like I'm like naming all these things, and I wrote it in, and they're like, they gave back a really nice letter. It was like that was personalized. I was like, sorry, we can't use your idea. It was a very good idea, etc., etc. And they gave me power stamps, which were they like each power stamp you could like mail in, and there would be like $1 off of an item at the Nintendo store or whatever, which was really cool, and I never used them, but like. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then like a month later, they sent me a Mr. Potato Head, which was
Well, right on,
very,
yeah.
very strange. But
So did they publish anything that like the letter you wrote in?
No,
or did they
no,
just
no,
responded and saying no, we can't use that?
they just responded.
Because
But
I'd imagine by the
here's
time
the
you
thing.
by the time you wrote them, they were probably already in development of
it,
that. But
it might have
We're
been
like, shit.
Well, the story behind like Super Smash Brothers, cutting ahead. By the way, Super Smash Brothers came out in the '90s, and I was really upset because they stole my idea. Except for I wasn't upset for very long because that game's really awesome. But like the story behind that game, I believe, is like some guy was some guy in Japan working for Nintendo made that game like on lunch break or something. Like, and it had like 4 characters. It had like Mario, Donkey Kong, and maybe like Link or Pikachu.
Kirby.
And Kirby, yeah, and like just on his lunch break, and then like pitched it to some other higher up. I think I saw this in a YouTube video somewhere, and like they're like, oh, this is really fun. Why don't you make a whole game out of this? And then so it may not have been like in development at that time. That motherfucker stole my idea. Just didn't use all my same characters.
He
mixed
was
it
the
up.
only person to read it like, holy shit, this is a great idea.
Burn this.
I can't let this kid have it. I'll respond back saying, sorry, bud, we're not using that.
What if he like? What if
And
he,
immediately after reading it, went to lunch and started developing
like, send the
this,
game.
Hey, boss, I thought about this on break, but
this idea. Check it.
Yeah.
check this idea out, man.
And then like a month
well,
later,
thank you, I guess.
A month
I mean,
later, his boss like finds my letter, and he's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Oh no! Like, what if we're finding out? We're too deep into development. Oh no! Send him a fucking Mr. Potato Head.
That'll be fun, man.
Kids
That'll
love
shut 'em
Mr.
up.
Potato Heads.
We won't hold up in court. We gave him something.
Let me ask you this. Did you ever specifically want a Mr. Potato Head?
No, not even a little bit. I mean, like I played with it.
I like breaking them, you know?
But did you, like, if you didn't have one, would you ask your mom to go get you one? Like,
No.
No.
What am I,
No.
some kind... Not until
nobody
Toy Story
wanted a
came
potato
out.
head in the 90s. That was, like, that was early.
Like it was like a thing like in I feel like in grade school like they would have toys like especially early grade school that you could play with, and that was always there, and you would play with it.
and
and
you
some
just,
other
like,
kids,
put a
like, had, like,
mustache
those-
on, turn it upside down, and you're like, that's it. That's the extent of, like,
Yeah, it's like, oh, the
The
eyes
amount
are
of
on his butt.
enjoyment.
Game over, like
I can't
I
derive
win.
any more enjoyment from this potato. Give me something else. They have Sonic the Hedgehog over there. I'll go play that.
Speaking of Sonic the Hedgehog, Ed has a very similar story. Our mutual friend Ed, he invented Shadow the Hedgehog. If you ask him, I think he wrote it. Well, I guess he wouldn't have written it into Nintendo Power because Sega wasn't owned by Nintendo back then. But,
Sega
like,
Power.
Sega Power, yeah. Sega didn't have the money to make
Yeah.
Sega Power, but like he wrote a letter to Sega and was like, hey, it'd be really cool if Sonic had like a kind of edgy, dark, like clone or whatever version of
Who
himself.
wore rocket shoes.
And his name, and he like named him like Shadow, like that, and then like Shadow came out and I was upset, but not that upset because he still loves Sonic to this day.
I will say, growing up, I did not have a Super Nintendo. I had a Sega Genesis, so Sonic was my mascot.
What
He
other...
was what I most identified with. as,
There
like,
was so the
video
console
gaming.
wars.
Yeah.
There was a console war.
I
back
just
in the
did-
90s.
I
Oh,
didn't
it's
have
been a
it.
non-stop console war.
But as
Well,
a
I mean,
kid,
like-
it's just like this is what I have. This is what my parents got me. I
Yeah.
play this, you play that. There's nothing we can do about it.
I was very fortunate to have both. But like
You
there,
fortunate son of a bitch.
yeah, but there were Super Nintendo kids and there were Sega Genesis kids. But I remember my friend Joey when I was a kid. I think I mentioned this on that post about the '90s the other day on Facebook. But Joey he told me one day he had a Super Nintendo, and then he said that on Christmas Santa stole his Super Nintendo and gave him a Sega Genesis, and I believed him.
What the fuck?
Yeah, like I was, and then like the next Christmas, I already had a Super Nintendo. My mom got me a Sega Genesis. I opened the box and I like screamed and ran upstairs to check if Santa stole my Super Nintendo. For like 25 years, like after that, I had no idea what happened to his thing. But then I posted on Facebook that '90s thing, and I mentioned that story. And he's like, yeah, someone actually stole it from me, and my parents just like disguised it as Santa.
What?
And, like.
Why? That's the worst
Bought
thing.
him a Sega Genesis to make up for it.
Wow.
That is the worst.
What a roller coaster of like gaming.
Only in the
emotions.
90s. Do any of you have like stories about like your parents like lying to you that you realized like when you grew up? I have one that's not like didn't happen to me, but my friend Allison she told me that her when she was a kid, her mom told her cat ran away, but that's not what happened. Her cat apparently was in the dryer, and her
my
mom didn't
God.
know it, and like put all the clothes in and turned it on, and said that when she opened the door, just fur came out,
Ugh.
and I was like, yeah, your cat ran away.
Yeah, and a
That's
parent in that
gory.
situation, I don't know.
Yeah, I think her mom probably did the right thing.
Yeah, it's just like your cat got obliterated in a dryer, kid. Sorry.
Here's a
my
picture.
Gosh.
Here's the fluff.
that we printed out because that's how they printed pictures back then.
I had a dog named Dakota. He was a big, half Samoyed, half Chow, like big, white, fluffy, awesome dog. And he bit people a lot. Like I have a scar right here and right here. He was a good dog, but I loved him a lot. He bit my friend Corey when we were kids, and then my parents got rid of him. And they told me that they gave him, no joke, they gave him to a labor camp where he would do work all day.
What?
I was like 7 or 8.
Dog
and I
labor
believed
camp?
this, a dog labor camp. Like, and I don't know. I doubt that they said this specifically, but I always pictured him with like a harness on, like pulling like a wheelbarrow full of rocks. But like,
Up a
I
mountain?
believed that for a very long time.
Interesting.
I don't think that's where he went. But Corey felt so bad. He was like, he felt so guilty, which because my dog bit him, and then like he got taken away because of that. That his mom bought me Final Fantasy Legend 3 on Game Boy, and I was like, okay, this makes up for it.
It's a pretty cool
God.
gift. A video game is a great gift.
I played that a lot. That very, very obscure game, which I think was like not even a Final Fantasy game in Japan. They just like reskinned it for America. Like it was kind of different. It was still like turn based. Well, I think that about wraps up our first episode. I wonder how long we've been recording.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Actually.
But yeah, so tune in next time where we recount more fables and myths and legends and true stories from the pre-cataclysm days. Again, I am Gabe Kroger,
I'm Patrick Seda.
I am Justin Stapleton.
and you've been listening to this podcast that's not been named yet.
Cowabunga.
Cowabunga, dudes.